Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, we're back in the next phase of the beta on the base PlayStation 4. So I had recently checked out the sort of, I guess you could say, alpha type event that they were doing, and I wasn't necessarily too blown away by that. They have actually improved a number of elements of the experience. You know, it definitely seems to be, I guess, rendering a little bit better when it comes to the visual graphics, but I am noticing a number of little performance hiccups throughout the different maps that we're playing on, whether they're the smaller or the bigger ones. That aside, I did want to jump in and just kind of take a look at the game again and see how it's progressed, what they're doing with it, and also to talk about it too. So obviously this is Treyarch's next big title. You know, it's kind of a play on the Black Ops franchise, adding another subtitle to the mix because it's Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So that's just kind of funny. But yeah, it's a very different sort of, like, I guess you could say, entry in the series. You know, they are doing a little bit of a bigger map in some of the levels, like you're seeing here. You get some things such as like being able to zip line across, you can drive boats. You know, the other one's got like tanks, because there's another like snow one you can go in. It's just some like vehicle play, which is kind of cool. And you know, they also do have the traditional multiplayer as well. And one thing I did notice from the menu too is it looks like Warzone is going to be integrated into this game. It's showing up in the menu. You got campaign, multiplayer, and then Warzone, and then zombies. It's like, huh, I did not expect that. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see that they're going to include that one in this. I was kind of guessing or expecting they might do their own thing, but absolutely fine by me. Wow, good kind of sniper shot there. It totally took me out. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Now, I'm still not necessarily the biggest fan of this particular effort, so I was actually mistaken. They are kind of building off of, well, last time I was building off of the Infinity Ward's new engine, but they just kind of, again though, I feel a little bit of it being as a regression in some ways, you know, just in regards to like the contextual sort of movement, the door breaking, just the game is even how it looks visually. I don't think it's quite as good as Modern Warfare. You know, that game to me really felt like a next generation effort. I was truly surprised seeing it, you know, not only at E3 but also upon the final release and then Warzone. And it's just, you know, it's not quite at that level. It's definitely a Treyarch game, if you know what I mean. Like, it definitely has that sort of grittier kind of look to it. I mean, I'm kind of impressed by the maps. They do look fairly decent. You know, they got a neat like art style, and it's the whole era to me is kind of exciting that they're doing here. At the same time, I'm mostly curious what they're going to be doing with the, you know, the full release of this game. You know, what the campaign is going to be like, what the actual zombies is going to be like. I mean, we've gotten some teases, right? But we're not exactly sure till we actually get in there and see the full thing. And I'm just generally curious to see what they're doing in that regard, because I think that'll be an interesting aspect to it, keeping in mind that you know, it doesn't really count Warzone wise as being part of this, because it really is its own sort of thing that's being brought over. So, you know, it's got a few different modes to it. It's got a cool bit of different action. I like the setting, and I just, you know, again, they just gotta polish this up more. I think it's already looking better than it was the previous time, and handling a little bit better too. Feels a little bit nicer, and I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with the map flow and stuff like that. But I think at this point, we need to switch over to another lobby so that you can see a different sort of map in action. So we're jumping into another match. This is a little bit different. We're doing straight up deathmatch on the new map that's been added into the rotation this time around. So this is Cartel. So yeah, in general, I don't think you've watched my first kind of take on the, Black Ops Cold War alpha. So we'll generally talk about what that one had. So one of the big issues for me in that one, aside from little smaller hiccups here and there, was the sort of texture rendering wasn't quite working, and I totally get that it was a, sort of alpha experience, so that was expected. And yeah, they've really cleaned that up. It's looking a lot better, because sometimes like the textures and stuff just weren't loading. At the same time, like I've been saying, I don't know if you're quite feeling that, but there's definitely a sense of the performance taking a bit of a hit while we're playing here. So I'm assuming that might have to do with it. And again, they just really need to optimize it further. So this was supposed to be deathmatch, actually. That's funny. Doesn't matter. Well, I prefer this anyways. But yeah, they've actually improved a fair bit of things here. At the same time, I'm still, like I was saying previously, not necessarily too blown away by what we're experiencing here. Jeez, I'm getting shot in the back. Oh, that guy came out of the hill there. But yeah, I'm still not blown away by the experience, When you played Modern Warfare, you're just like, wow, this feels so intense. Whereas this, again, feels like a bit of a regression, just in terms of like the visuals, the gameplay. It's, it still feels like a last-gen title in that regard with it, even though it's a whole cross-gen thing. And I can't wait to see what it looks like on the next-gen consoles. I bet this will really shine there with the higher frame rates, the ray tracing and stuff like that. It's really going to be cool to see how that turns out. But for now, I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm just like not too blown away by it from a visual sense. It's got that cool gritty look, but at the same time, it doesn't have that really realistic, clean design that I thought Modern Warfare carried very nicely to it. And it's weird that they would kind of go off on their own path again like this, especially when you've got such a great looking, experience. And I'm also kind of a little disappointed that we'll never really see what Sledgehammer was cooking up, since that one got cancelled and this one got pushed ahead. And I'm wondering, if this did reach the full potential that they had in mind for it. So that should be interesting. But, a decent selection of maps, I guess you could say. They're definitely a little bit different and unique. I haven't really come across one that's necessarily blown my mind yet. I mean, I like the bigger maps, but still they feel kind of, I guess you could say, tame in comparison to the Modern Warfare ground war maps we saw, because that was impressive, right? These like really large ground war type environments, they were really, really cool and felt massive in terms of scale and felt epic for battles. And then you got that expanded upon in Warzone, and then you saw like parts of the Warzone experience kind of make its way over to the multiplayer, and I thought that was really, really cool. And here, it feels like we're kind of going back to more like set maps, places that don't feel like actual locations. And I think that's a bit of a shame, at least in my opinion. And I mean, other people might have a different feeling on it, and that's totally fine too. I'm just jumping in here, having a good time, taking a look at things, seeing what it's like, and giving some thoughts on it. Not getting too intense into it, because we still have, another whole weekend of adjustments to go, and another platform or two to see it on, and see where it's going and what they're doing with it. And yeah, I'm, again, quite intrigued, because for me, the big part of the Treyarch games is the campaign that they do and the zombies. They really, really do shine in those spots. And that's not to say that I haven't loved some of the multiplayer, because some of those Black Ops have some really well done multiplayer experiences. I just tend to skew more towards the Modern Warfare options of the franchise. And, I think they could do more with what they've kind of set up here, but it's kind of interesting. It's kind of intense, it moves fast like a regular Call of Duty game, but yet it still doesn't have the same sort of hustle. I mean, you can't do the click-in thing to go a little bit faster, and it just feels like I've gotten a lot of cool new, slightly smaller sort of features kind of stripped back from me between these releases. And if you're wondering why my leveling is all weird, it's because I've been quitting the matches and not, finishing them and stuff. it gets rid of all the XP that you've unlocked. But I don't really care, and it's rotating lobby, so it doesn't matter anyways. But yeah, it just seems like they've taken a step back in some ways. Now, will that turn out to be like a really unique experience for the Black Ops franchise? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Modern Warfare was just so impressive that maybe I'm kind of not used to seeing what the Black Ops franchise has to offer, and I think there's a lot more for them to still reveal and still showcase. I definitely think it's a good multiplayer experience. I think it's decent, but it's just those smaller little things where I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm 100% behind this, and I'm not necessarily sure that this one is going to capture me in the way that Modern Warfare did. So I'm going to be very curious to see if I'm going to be playing a lot of this, or if I'm going to just go right back into playing Modern Warfare and, well, Warzone in general. Maybe not the multiplayer Modern Warfare at this point, but definitely still rocking the Warzone experience, since it's a lot of fun and people seem to like streams and stuff of it, so I spend a lot of time playing that one. But yeah, I hope you kind of liked this look at what the game has to offer and got an idea of how it's running, which I think, in general, again, is a lot better. It's definitely running a lot better. It's just these little performance hiccups here or there that need to be cleaned, and I think, once they got that matched with the better sort of streamlined texture rendering in here, then they've got a really, fine-tuned, sort of polished multiplayer, at least in that regard.